Hello and welcome to Frost Over the World. Later in the programme, can you keep a magic trick secret? Is the war on drugs a losing battle? And we meet soul-singing star Aloe Black. But we begin with tennis, and one of the world's top players who's still striving to achieve that first Grand Slam title, despite having beaten every one of the world's top players more than once already, and they've on occasion beaten him too, of course. Andy Murray is the world number 4. He just happens to have above him 3 of the greatest players the game has ever seen: Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer, 2 of whom we've spoken to on this programme already.
What changed this year is my self-belief on the court, my confidence, and believing that I can win major events against the top players, and maturity as well. And I'm just happy to see myself progressing in such.
So it is mental, do you think, the thing that was the biggest thing that took you into the greatest year of your life?
I believe so, yes.
Consistency is a funny thing, and for us it's very, very important as tennis players. So that's why I think we all strive to become better, and I think we actually push each other to become better, because nobody's just sleeping at home. Everybody's going to hitting the practice courts and trying to become a better player.
Novak Djokovic there and Roger Federer. Andy Murray doesn't generally give lengthy interviews, preferring to let his tennis do the talking. But this week at the Monte Carlo Masters he made an exception, and we sat down to discuss his family, his views on the current state of tennis and his own form. But of course our starting point was the awesome summer ahead. Andy, coming up this summer, really you've got perhaps the most demanding summer you could possibly have, with competing for 3 Grand Slams and now the Olympics as well this year. If you had a choice between a Grand Slam victory and an Olympics victory this summer, which would you choose?
I'd take either right now. But yeah, it's a tough question and very, very different. I think the Olympic Games is, within sport, I think a gold medal in the Olympics, I think, is the biggest sporting achievement you can have. Everybody knows what an Olympic gold medal means. You're winning it, for your country as well, which is great. But within tennis circles, obviously winning a Grand Slam is pretty much the pinnacle of our sport. So it's a difficult one to answer, but I'd take either.
You'd take both.
Or both.
That would be even better, wouldn't it?
Or both, yeah.
Does it change your approach with more to do this summer? I mean, do you have to train more and so on?
Yeah, it's actually, you need to get the balance right this summer between training enough and not doing too much, because there's so many big tournaments coming up, one after another. You want to make sure you're fresh going into the tournaments, but also physically in good enough shape to win them. So it's a difficult season. You need to make sure you schedule your tournaments right and your practices right. So it's going to be an interesting summer.
And you've changed over the years. You've changed your diet, for instance, a bit. Do you change it before a big match?
No, I have a pretty stuck diet now. And about just before Wimbledon last year, I changed my diet a little bit. Before matches, I used to always have pasta before I went on. That was always what I had, and now I have more sort of rice and fish and vegetables before I play. A little bit more protein. So yeah, it changed a little bit, but now I'm feeling good with the diet that I'm on, and won't hopefully have to make any changes to it before the big tournaments.
And this, of course, will be the first summer when you've had Ivan Lendl as your coach and so on. How's that working out so far?
It's worked out great so far. He's been fun to work with. He obviously has a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge about the big events in tennis and how to play your way through them. But also he asks a lot of questions. He wants to learn, which for someone who's as great a player as him is refreshing. It's been really nice for me to see that side of him, and it's been great. So hopefully it'll give me good help over the summer.
I read somewhere that your hero when you were young among tennis players was Andre Agassi. Yeah. Was he your hero?
Yeah, he was my favourite player to watch. I used to have all of his clothes. That was what I used to wear when I played, and I also at one stage had a hat with a blonde ponytail attached to the back of it. I used to play some matches in that as well. So yeah, he was a guy. I thought he was just fun to watch. He was very different, had a great personality. He did a lot for tennis. He made it, I think, more of a worldwide sport. You know, and yeah, that was why. I also loved watching Tim Henman when I was growing up as well. I learned a lot from him and got to practice with him as I grew up too. So he taught me a lot.
And it's amazing that you actually played Novak Djokovic when you were only 11, and I suppose he was 11 too, because you're about the same age, aren't you?
Yeah, we were born 1 week apart. Yeah, he's 22nd of May. I was born 15th of May in 1987, and yeah, we played when we were 11 for the first time. We played all the way through juniors until we were 16, 17, and sort of worked where when we were like 11, 12, I used to beat him. 13, 14, he used to beat me, and then we always kind of had that sort of one would improve and the next one we would get better and whatnot. So I'm hoping after the year that he had last year that the same thing's going to happen for me.
Absolutely. And why was he so successful in bumping his game up last year so suddenly, really?
Yeah, I think you know, only really him and his team know what changes they made, but you know, from watching him play, I think he gained a lot of confidence, a lot of self-belief, which is so important in an individual sport. You know, he stuck with the guys that he's always worked with, which I think is also important. He had a continuity there, guys that understood him, and he made some improvements to his strokes, but not major changes. His serve definitely got better, but the rest of his game technically stayed the same. I just think he matured a lot, gained a lot of experience and confidence last year.
And confidence you mentioned there, I mean, confidence or other words for it, but confidence is crucial, almost as important as talent, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. You know, talent really only gets you so far. I think it's only really 20-30% of, you know, of the overall picture. There's so much more that goes into it. Hard work, you know, and dedication often trumps someone with just good talent but not a good work ethic. So there's a lot of things that go into individual sports, and yeah, confidence and self-belief is definitely one of the major parts.
And of course, at the age of 15, you might have become a footballer as opposed to a tennis player. I mean, you were often training with Rangers, weren't you?
Yeah, I always loved playing sports when I was growing up. I did all sorts of sports. I did gymnastics, golf, football, tennis, table tennis, squash. I just loved it. I played all sports with my brother. That was just my passion from a young age, and tennis was the one I was good at, but I also played a lot of football and got offered the chance to train at the Rangers School of Excellence, and had to decide then whether I was going to try and play football or tennis, and it was a much easier decision to take tennis because they had a ranking system at that age at 14, 15 years old, whereas in football you have no idea really how good you are.
But in fact, there's soccer, there's football in your background too, isn't there? Was it your grandfather played for Hibs?
Yeah, my grandfather played for Hibs, so my whole family supported them, and we used to always go along and watch the games through in Edinburgh. I go and watch Hibs play since kids. But yeah, my whole family really loves sports, and that was probably why me and my brother became professional sportsmen when literally all we did after school was just play sports, and our parents were great with helping us out with that.
Your family support has been really important to you, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's very important to a lot of players. You know, I was lucky that my mum was able to coach me and my brother up till we were like 11 or 12, and had a good understanding of the game, because in Scotland now it's starting to get better, but when me and my brother were growing up, wasn't too many top level coaches, so we had a mum to guide us a little bit. But still, when I got to 15, I had to move over to Barcelona to continue my training and my improvement. So my parents definitely helped us.
You could ended up playing for Barcelona.
I certainly wasn't that good. That's yeah, they're a pretty incredible team right now. So I actually love watching them. I used to go when I lived in Barcelona. I used to try and go to as many games as I could.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of looking ahead, what would you say what's the difference between a very good tennis player and a great tennis player?
I think, I mean, different people judge it in different ways. I mean, I think, you know, it is mentioned a lot. A lot of people see, you know, the difference between top tennis players and guys that are just below, it's mental strength, you know, and belief. Because all of the guys, you know, play great tennis now, and in practice many times you can, you know, play against a lower ranked player, and you know they can beat you, make it incredibly tough. But then sometimes in the matches, you know, the mental side kicks in a little bit more, and ability to deal with pressure. And I think that's I mean, that makes a big difference playing in the Grand Slams in a fifth set of a match, knowing or backing yourself to go for a big shot, or you know, to change tactics or do something a bit different. You know, that's what separates the best players.
That's the difference, as it were. And when you mention mental strength there, I mean, one can see how you can train to be quicker or fitter or whatever, but how do you train for mental strength?
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways of going about it. I mean, for me, I've found when I've worked very hard physically that I've gone on the court with no doubts in my mind, and therefore felt free mentally and able to concentrate really well and focus. You know, also using a sports psychologist, you know, which a lot of players do. I've done it.
How long does that? Is that a long session or?
I think I mean, it depends. Depends how big your problems are, I guess, or how much help you need. You know, everybody's different, but that's the thing. Because it's an individual sport, there's not one way that works for everybody. But for me, I've always found that when I've worked very hard in the gym and got strong physically, that I've felt much better mentally on the court.
Mentally. And how much difference? Behind us there's a large clay court down there, which you're going to be playing on. But how much difference is coming to clay? You only play clay a month and a half a year, don't you? I mean, how does your game have to change when you're out there on clay?
I mean, for me, it's the hardest surface for me to adjust to, because, like you say, I don't play that much on it during the year, and I also didn't grow up on it, so it's not a surface that comes naturally to me, whereas someone like a Nadal steps on a clay court and feels comfortable straight away. For me, you need to be very, very patient on a clay court. That's the one thing that that when I played my best tennis, I felt that I'd been patient on the court and not rushed points like you can do sometimes on hard courts or grass courts. So that's the one thing that I always work on when I start playing on the clay again.
When you play on clay again. And as you say, Nadal and so on is on clay courts. If the other way around, if someone plays on clay courts all year long for 10.5 months a year, how difficult is it switching to grass?
Yeah, it's a big change. That's, you know, for me, going from hard courts to clay courts is the hardest change of surface for me in tennis. I find it difficult. It takes me time to get used to, whereas going from clay to grass, I feel comfortable after a few days, whereas some of the guys that, you know, are used to playing and moving on the clay courts for a lot of the year, they find it very difficult to get used to the speed of the court on the grass, and also the movement, because it's, you know, a lot of guys slip and fall over when they start playing on the grass, because it's such a different surface.
Yeah, so that makes all the difference. What match so far in your career, and you're only 24 going on 25, aren't you? But what has been the match that you look back on with the most satisfaction so far?
Very good question. A tough one to answer. I was actually talking about that the other day, and the one where I remember coming off the court being the most satisfied was when I won my first tournament in San Jose on the ATP Tour. I won against Leighton Hewitt in the final, 7-6 in the third set. I didn't have a coach there with me. I was on my own with my girlfriend, and that was probably it. That was the most satisfying win for me, and I really felt after there like that I could get to the top of the game, because I was only 18 at the time, and you still have a huge amount of respect, and for the top players, and when you go on court, you're in awe of them a little bit, and after that I started to gradually break through that and learn that that I could win against those players.
You mentioned your girlfriend there. That I hadn't realised till this week, reading up and so on, that in fact tennis is in her family too. Her father is a top coach or whatever.
Yeah, he coaches Anna Ivanovic, who won the French Open and was world #1, and she's been very good for me because she understands the game. There's obviously a lot of travelling, so we spend sometimes 6-7 weeks apart from each other, and she's been through that with her father, so that's
fantastic.
Helped. Yeah,
that's rather useful, because otherwise it would be quite tough maintaining a relationship at long distance or whatever.
Yeah, and also because her dad's at the tournament, he can keep an eye on me as well. So she's got nothing to worry about.
You're not entirely free.
No, not entirely free. But no, it's been great. It's something that I think is important in an individual sport, to have like a settled home life. And yeah, it's been about 7 years we've been together, and I met her for the first time at the US Open in 2006, I think it was. So it's been a long time.
7 years?
Yeah, 7 years.
You're not secretly married, are you?
No, not yet. No matter how much she's pushing me. Yeah, I haven't fallen for it yet.
And it's great that the family support and so on, that even though your parents split up when you were 9, they're still with you all the way, aren't they?
Yeah, my dad was in Australia this year. He's always at Wimbledon. He's come to US Open a couple of times, and my mum now is around more because of her job coaching the British women's team, the Fed Cup team. So she's around at more of the tournaments, and it's great. Also, my brother plays, so I'm playing doubles with him here. So it's great to have your family around, because it can be quite lonely sometimes traveling the world, all year round.
Yeah, and it must have been 9 is about the most awkward age for something like that to happen, because you're old enough to know what's going on and not old enough to know how to cope with it, as it were. It's just an awkward time. There's no good time.
Yeah, no, it's a very difficult thing, and I've actually spoken to other tennis players about it, because it's obviously happened to them as well. And yeah, it's a difficult thing, I think, for anyone growing up to deal with, and it definitely takes a bit of time to understand why it might have happened, and then how you deal with that. So yeah, now I understand that can happen. It's happening a lot more than it used to.
Yeah.
That's for sure. It seems to be happening to friends or people that I know every other week. So
yeah. Absolutely, it is. That's one of the many things that's changed in the last 20 or 30 years. One of the other things that's changed is that in terms of tennis, to have 3 really tough opponents, there's rarely been, and now with you 4, there's rarely been so many good players, very, very, very good players, at the same time, has there?
Yeah, I think that's what, right now I think tennis is in a great place. A lot of people that I speak to say, for watching, it's been one of the best eras to watch. There's been a lot of fun matches, a lot of contrast in styles and personalities, and my coach Ivan Lendl, he sort of went through that with McEnroe and Connors and Borg and Wilander, guys like that. So he had a lot of tough rivals. He played Becker as well. So he's been a good person to talk to about that as well, and it's a good moment for tennis, and I'm enjoying being part of it.
Yes, and you've said somewhere that the fact that you've got so many good opponents may, on the one hand, have lessened the number of times you could win a Grand Slam, but on the other hand, it could improve your game in a way it wouldn't have been improved otherwise. Yeah,
I think the level that everybody's playing at right now, it just keeps getting better and better, because there's a few guys, at the top of the game that are around the same level or similar level. They're always pushing each other to get better. Federer has set the bar incredibly high, with his consistency, and then Nadal has matched that in many ways in the Grand Slams, and then obviously Djokovic has come along. The last he's been around for 6 or 7 years right at the top of the game, but making that last step to get to number one, he's obviously raised the bar again. So it's been tough, but I've improved a lot because of those guys as well, and they've definitely made me better.
Do you think the season, the almost 12-month season, but the tennis season and so on, do you think the tennis year should be shortened a bit? Do you think it's a bit too long, or is it okay?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one to answer. It's been shortened by 2 weeks this year, which is a good start. I just think that period of the French Open and Wimbledon is the 2 weeks after one another. I think that's the period of the year that could be spread out a little bit better, but if that happened, then I think that the tennis calendar would be close to being perfect. So it's not far off, but it's a long season. But they get great crowds at all of the events. They normally get very good fields at most of the tournaments now, and so long as you schedule your tournaments in properly and don't overplay, it doesn't really affect your ranking or anything. So I like the way that tennis is just now, maybe just with 2 or 3 weeks changing here or there.
And so can you say now, well, I mean, it's all in the lap of the gods partially, but can you say, I will win one of these 3 Grand Slams or the Olympics, or I think I will win, or I hope I will win? How do you approach them now?
Yeah, well, you need to go in believing that you're going to win the event. So the French Open is in 5-6 weeks from now, and that's what I'm preparing for. Starting here in Monte Carlo for these next 5 weeks, that's the goal, and I'm going to do everything I can to win that event. I don't look any further ahead than that, and yeah, I mean, I haven't thought about finishing my career having not won a Grand Slam, because I believe I will do it, and that's what I'm working.
That's
towards.
really important to feel that, isn't it? That I will win the Grand Slam sooner or later, preferably soon.
Yeah, as soon as possible. But yeah, I mean, obviously, the later you get in your career, it becomes harder. But I think now guys have started peaking and playing their best tennis later than they used to, because it's become so physical that I still think my best years are ahead of me, and each year I've improved my results in the Grand Slams and against the top players. So I just got to keep believing and working hard.
Well, we hope that this year will be better than ever.
Yeah, I hope so.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. It was great. Thank you.
In a minute, can lawyers stop you revealing a magician's secrets? Or can a magician do that to another magician? Find out after this mysteriously short break.